Hello, this is Tarregor. This video is a stream on twitch.tv that was not edited, so it's going to look like a Twitch stream. Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of retail WoW like Shadowlands, and a private service, Vanilla Plus, and Turtle WoW. This is partially because it's aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, Flash on apologies already second, and added content third. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video description for a link to the playlist. The document displays my opinion of WoW Classic Plus, and the document's version number, not the game's version number, but the document's version number, is 1.5.17. All versions of the document are based on patch 1.12.2 of the actual game. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch the introductory video in this playlist or read the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is on my channel's About page. That Night does not have a team of people or, however, working to make an actual private server. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Now then, changes to the attacking system for, like, auto attacks and shit like that. First off, melee leeway will be completely removed from the game. People got their fill of it in Classic Map Plus, and then they got fucking tired of it. And so did I. It'll be ensured that sick crits do not proc when critted talents such as Enrage the Fury talent and Redoubt, even when you expand the /standby unless the mechanics be abused. Also reckoning. If it will be a change, then all attacks from stealth modes will be unable to be blocked, dodged, or parried unless the victim detects the attacker first, because it thematically makes sense. That's what matters in an RPG. To a great extent, at least. If it would be a change, then players may not block, dodge, or parry attacks while mounted. If it would be a change, then all melee and range attacks made by players versus players will always be considered to be made off of weapon skill equals total weapon skill, instead of being considered to be made off of weapon skill equals character level times 5 plus bonuses. If it would be a change, then your defense skill versus players will always be considered to be defense skill equals total defense skill, instead of being considered to be defense skill equals character level times 5 plus bonuses. You cannot gain weapon skill from an attack that your opponent is immune to or to prevent exploits. Did I remember to enable players to get defense skill and weapon skill by hitting other players? I'll address that after this video. You cannot gain weapon skill from an attack that your opponent is immune to, which will prevent various exploits, such as the ones involving the Servants of Razzle, like the Defiler and the Blastoblims. An attack whose physical damage is fully blocked will not be able to trigger debuffs / procs that thematically rely upon making contact with foes, such as Hamstring, World Strike, Gravestone, War Axis proc, and Rogue Poisons, but not Paladin Seals, Fire Weapon, Flame Rasp proc, or Cruel Handed Timmy's proc, because it makes sense. Because it thematically makes sense. Physical damage is fully blocked, but elemental damage Ice Blade Hacker still goes through. Then such debuffs / procs will not go through since they rely upon the physical portion of the damage being dealt. Or was that 2 video? Yeah, that was 1 video ago, I think. Weapon attacks that inherently deal 0 damage to the Thunder Armor, Kidney Shot, and Wing Clip will be fully subject to block chance. Blocking such an attack will always block the entire attack, and it'll never partially block the attack. This change is made because it thematically makes sense. By the way, Wing Clip was nerfed to deal 0 damage. Yellow attacks will no longer use a 2-roll system for their attack table stuff. If you want to know more about Wing Clip, see the Hunter's video earlier in this playlist. Yeah. So yellow attacks will no longer use a 2-roll system for their attack table stuff. Instead, they'll be white attacks, except they'll have yellow text. And they will not generate rage for warriors or druids who use it to deal damage. But of course, they will generate rage from damage taken. These cannot be crushing or glancing blows, and they will ignore the dual hit penalty. As such, yellow attacks can get their crits pushed off the table by block chance, and they can no longer critically strike when they are blocked. I know, white attacks that got blocked could not crit or crush anyway due to how attack tables worked. Being disarmed will no longer prevent you from blocking attacks. Because the thematic explanation for how shields are involved in disarms must be either A, the shield gets disarmed with the main hand weapon, and therefore you lose all equip bonuses for the shield, such as its huge amount of armor, and it cannot use shield pummel or shield slam, nor can you block anymore. Or B, the shield simply does not get disarmed, and only the main hand weapon gets disarmed. I pick B. Global cooldowns of A and all sorts will no longer prevent your auto attacks or other abilities from causing things such as Crusader, Nightfall, or Hand Adjusted as a trigger. Hey, wait a second. What's on you? is. But it also applies to attack changes, I guess. Extra attacks such as those from one inferior weapon, hand adjustments, and iron foe will no longer reset your swing timer, and such extra attacks will be made into a weapon that triggered it, be it your offhand weapon, an arc light spanner, or an unarmed fist, for example, as examples. All damage dealt by blocking, such as from shield spikes, may no longer critically strike because it would not thematically make sense. Under nearly all circumstances, the enemy will not attack you with a weak part of its body. Thematically, that is. Miss chance will no longer be multiplied by 1 times the target level if the target is a level 1 to 9 mob. The star zones don't need to be that easy. They're easy enough with this change. Hit chance versus enemies that have 10 or less defense skill like your weapon skill will use the same hit formula as for PvP hit chance because it designed some stuff around the assumption that this is true. Design note. Check the design document for inconsistencies about the hit cap versus level plus 3 NPCs. This also means that plus defense skill is as valuable in PvE as in PvP outside of immunity to critical strikes for whichever NPCs. Weapon skill level ups shall be changed to have a chance to occur based upon your base weapon speed. The chance will be the same as before for 2.5 speed weapons. It'll be 60% higher than before for 4.0 speed weapons, and it'll be 60% lower than before for 1.0 speed weapons, such as your cat claws. While weapon speeds in between these will have accordingly larger or smaller chances to level up your weapon skill with each hit. By the way, I had new weapon skills for each of your druid forms. Cat and travel forms have the same weapon skill. However, to cut down processing, defense skill skills will not be changed accordingly. However, if weapon skill if weapon skill and defense skill chances are already calculated as such, or in a similar manner, this change will not need to be made. This change is part of encouraging druids to not all level up from level 20 to 16 cat form, seeing as how cat form will, as I already mentioned, have its own weapon skill. And watching.